Free trials, free trials, free trials. What can I say? They don't work. And we're going to talk about that in today's module. And it's a shame because so many people have been led astray with free trials. And I saw this really plagued the social media marketing space. I noticed in 2018 and 2019. And let me tell you why so many people were pushing free trials, right? There's people who had courses, who did coaching and stuff like that. And obviously they wanted to look good, right? And they kept telling all of their students, hey, do free trials. And obviously, look, a free trial is the fucking easiest thing ever to close, right? So all their students got clients and like, oh, I got a client within 2 weeks. I got a client within 1 week. And it's like, no, you didn't. You got a free trial client. That's not a client, right? And I saw so many people get burned. So many agency owners get burned. So many people get led astray with this whole idea that free trials work. And they don't. And we're going to get into that in just a second here. But one thing that I'm not opposed to is paid trials. And that is what this entire module is about. And I'm really excited to clear the air about paid trials, free trials, etc., etc. So with no further ado, let's get straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the paid trials playbook. Now, in today's teaching, we are going to go over the other side of the wall effect, how to get to the other side of the fence with low risk. And the reason we never do free trials, why I'm not opposed to paid trials, positioning paid trials, positioning money guarantee trials, and why this only works if you're charging. So what's on the other side of the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, this is about to be extremely cathartic for you because I'm about to tell you what is on the other side of the wall, right? This proverbial wall of signing a client, right? Of onboarding a client, of getting paid. What's on the other side of the wall is absolutely nothing. It's absolutely nothing that you don't know. And this is the issue. So many people get, as I said, so many people think that there is, it's funny, even in previous programs, people think that there's stuff that I'm like trying to hold back or hide, to keep those secrets to myself. Guys, there's fucking nothing on the other side of the wall, right? There's nothing on the other side of the wall, and you have so much anxiety towards, what's going to happen, And I see this a lot even on some of the Q&A sessions. And sometimes, because I've been doing this long enough, sometimes I even have to tell people like, look, I'm not going to answer your question because by me answering your question, it does more harm than it does good. Because they haven't even started doing outreach and they're like, hey, what happens in this very specific example if a very specific client does this very specific thing, right? And it's like, why are you worrying and fretting about these things, right? So I realized that in no matter what in life, right? And by the way, I can also look at myself and I can look at things that I did. One big thing that I can think of is investing, right? Getting started, finally investing, right? It seemed like a very daunting thing to me, and especially when I first started getting invested in cryptocurrencies, it seemed like a very daunting portfolio worth $8 million. And I had known all about it, and I knew all the little trinkets and this and that, and even other things that I can think about is in terms of hobbies of mine. When I first kind of started getting into the world of cigars and really starting to enjoy fine Cuban cigars, it's a very daunting thing. There's a lot of etiquette I had to learn. There's a lot of the difference between a Cuban cigar and a Dominican cigar, the difference between different ring gauges, etc., etc. It really applies to anything in life, right? You just need to dive straight in, and you need to dive straight in with some training wheels, and that's really what this entire module is going to be about. Is like, how do we show you what's on the other side of the wall? Like, how do we show you what's on the other side of the wall of signing a client, and do it in the easiest, most time-effective manner, and do it without freaking you out as well. As I said, you are going to continue to have these expectations and these fears of what's going to happen when you sign a client when it comes to service delivery, or even what it's going to be like to sign a client in the first place. And what we need to do is we need to get you over the other side of that wall of actually signing a client, receiving payment, and also servicing that client, right? And once you have that first reference experience, then you realize that, it's totally fine. It's second nature. Ladies and gents, for those of you that drive here, at first it seemed so daunting. Now it's second nature to you. You don't even think about it. Same thing with riding a bike or swimming or this, this is what everything in life becomes like. At first it's daunting, and then, a couple months later, you're like, well, yeah, this is second nature. This is ingrained in me now, right? So how do we get you to that point as soon as humanly possible? How do we get you on the other side of that proverbial wall and show you that, hey, You think that everyone knows these special tactics or trick and this and that on the other side of this wall, when really that's not the case. And let's try to get you over that other side of the wall as soon as possible. Because as I said, I can say everything I want to say to you, but until you have that reference experience, it's really hard to understand. You know, it's like someone who tells you, hey, you know, money won't make you happy. And you might internalize that, right? But or you may comprehend it, but to truly internalize it, you have to go through it, right? And this is in the same way, you know, we've all been through our first breakup, and that first breakup is so painful, and we get some incredible advice from some of our friends and peers, but look, you have to go through it to really, really internalize and really understand it, and walk out on the other side and be like, oh wow, that wasn't actually, you know, that wasn't the end of my life as I thought it would have been. So the reason I say all of this is because in order to get that anxiety, you know, over that anxiety and that fear of what happens when I sign a client, when I service them, etc., we need to get you to that point, right? Now, everything that I've talked about already in terms of pricing your services, you have such a crazy competitive advantage, right? You know multiple pricing models, the pros, the cons, you know, in what situation to price which way, you know, what is the best sort of pricing model for your stage of the journey, right? You guys know how to sign a client, and, you know, and match that with all the sales training in this program, you know how to sign a client like no other, right? So what this module is specifically is, no one here should be offering paid trials if you're just getting started, right? The position or the use case for paid trials is if it has been months, right? If it's been 5-6 months and you've had many meetings and you just can't seem to make a client close, then there's a use case for paid trials. Really what a paid trial is at that point, as I said, if you don't do this, if you still haven't had your first meeting and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a paid trial, right? If you've still yet to have your first meeting, focus on getting your first meeting and try to pitch them, right? It's if you've had, 6-7 meetings and just no one's biting, right? And, and most of the time it's because it's your first client, right? So obviously there's a level of nervousness that's coming through, right? And obviously you're going to hone in your sales skills and you're going to hone in your offer, and that comes over time, right? So if you've had, 6+ meetings and no one has bidden yet, right? And they're actual meetings, right? Where you're pitching your service, not like, hey, you cold called 6 people and they said, hey, no, I'm not interested in your service. Like, if you had 6 actual meetings, then it may potentially be time for you to think about doing a paid trial, just so you can get to the other side of that wall and you can experience it and have that reference experience. Now let's get onto free trial insanity. So I touched on this slightly at the beginning of the module, but as I said, I saw this really happening a lot in 2017, 2018, 2019. A lot of gurus going out and telling their students, hey, sign free trial clients, right? Because then they'd sign free trial clients, they'd post in the community, hey, I signed a client, blah, blah, this, that, even though it's not a client, right? It's a free trial client. And then that guru would take that, post it on social media and be like, oh, my students are signing clients within 48 hours, within blah, blah. And that's not really the case, right? Repeat after me. A client is not a client until they pay you, okay? A client is not a client until they pay you. And by the way, that also refers to if you've had a sales call with the client, they have given you a verbal yes, and you've actually charged them a retainer. Let's say you charge them $3,200 a month. If you've told them, hey, the price is $3,200, they said verbal yes, I'm doing it, let's do it, and you did not take payment on that call, doesn't mean they're not going to become a client, but that means they are not a client. They are a client when that payment hits. Until that payment hits, repeat after me, they are not a client. All right? A client is only a client if they pay you. All right? You need to understand that. And this is why free trials don't work. Okay? Now, can you get experience from free trials? Yes, 100%. Right? You can get some experience of what it's like to be on the other side in terms of service delivery. Okay? But don't ever think that a free trial is going to convert. This is the thing that made me a little bit more, upset to see with this whole free trial insanity. Now, look, if you bring on a free trial and you're like, look, we're going to run their ads for a month or two, maybe, or we're going to run their whatever service you offer for a month or two. And then after that, I know that they're not going to pay us $1,500 a month if they're used to paying nothing. I know that, but at least I get some experience from it. I'm going to get maybe I'm going to make sure that they give me a really juicy testimonial case study. And if you know that, fair enough, fair dues to you. But I still don't think it's, really to drill this point home, let me give you an example. I always give this example in terms of free trials. Humans are loss averse, right? And most people think in terms of cup is half empty rather than cup being half full, right? And very, very simple. Look, here's the thing. If I give you $1,000, right? Let's say, it's because I love you. You're such an amazing student, which you are, right? So I am going to send you a message tomorrow in the community, and I'm going to go, hey, by the way, just a heads up, I think you're freaking awesome. I've seen what you've been posting. I'm going to send you $1,000 just as a thank you. You get your $1,000, you're super happy. And then the next day I go, I'm so sorry. I'm actually gonna need $500 of that back. There's been a massive emergency, but the other $500 you can keep. It's all yours. On day one, you saw you made $1,000. You, in your mind, what you're repeating to yourself is, I got $1,000. Like I just made $1,000. On day two, what you're repeating to yourself is, I just lost $500. When that's not the case. You still gained $500 that you didn't have, but in your mind you lost $500, and that's the way human psychology works. So to think that you're going to offer free services for a month or 2 months, and then they're going to think, oh yeah, you know what, I'm going to pay $1,500 a month for it. It doesn't work like that, guys. So a free trial client will give you some great understanding of what it's like to serve as a client, but it won't get you over that big hump, that big speed bump, which is actually taking payment from a client. It doesn't matter if it's even $100, just receiving that first payment from a client, getting on a sales call, getting to a point where at the end of the sales call, you've left with a new client that has paid you, right? As I said, it doesn't even really matter that much the amount. It's just the fact that you have closed a client and taken payment and received that payment. That is truly what gets you over to the other side of the wall, where you know what it's like to actually be an agency owner. So as I said, free trials aren't the end of the world. I mean, they're horrible, right? And it's just like, it was disgusting to watch all these people recommend them when it's not the right thing to do. And I think they knew it was not the right thing to do. They just wanted more testimonials, which were, as I said, phony, because a free trial is not a client, right? But if, free trials aren't the end of the world. Like, aren't the end of the world if you go into knowing, hey, I know this client will not become a client, and but it just gives me a bit of service delivery experience. But I think there are much better alternatives, which is what we're going to get into right now. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about paid trials. Now, no minimum, right? So when you're doing a paid trial, or I guess in normal circumstances, you should always be signing clients onto, that should say a 3-month minimum, right? As I said, you want to be doing at least a 3-month minimum when you're signing clients. Now, when it comes to paid trials, just do rolling month by month, right? So when you sign them, just do a rolling month by month agreement. The next is low fee. Now, one option is you can do the low fee paid trial, where you basically charge your break even when it comes to your contractor, if you have one. So let me give you an example. And within paid trials, I'm showing you a couple different examples right here. So the first thing is you just tell the client, openly, you go, look, you're my first client, and because you're my first client, I'm just going to charge you at cost, and just go, look, I've been trained by experts in the space, right? I've gone through the best education in the space. I've managed to source the best team, right? And it's not only me who, if, by the way, that's true, right? If it's you, obviously, if it's just you and you're not using contractor, obviously don't say that. Just go, and it's not just me. I have a team. I have someone on my team who's spent, and then you can say however much your team member has spent, right? That contractor they're using. You never refer to a contractor as a contractor. Obviously, you also refer to them as a member of your team, which is true, right? They're not an employee, but they're a member of your team. So you go, hey, someone and the person on my team who's managing the account with you, like, he or she has spent, $3 million on Facebook ads, right? So we have some great knowledge, but I'm going to be honest with you, as this is my first client. So I'm just going to do this at cost to me, right? Basically what it cost me out of pocket. And for that, in this situation, you just charge them a low fee. If you're trying to get to, if you want to charge your first few clients $1,800 a month, then that first client, just charge them $500 a month, right? Just break even. But just receiving that first payment and paying out that contractor, that already does so much for your psychology that it's fine that you're breaking even. I don't mind that, because you received some money and you've actually also contributed to the marketplace. You contributed to the economy by paying out a contractor as well, right? So that's immensely powerful. The next one is performance upside, right? So if you're signing an e-commerce education client, then you charge a low base to cover your base fee, right? So once again, if you're not using contractors, you don't need to worry about this. But if you are using a contractor, then let's say your contractor is charging you $500 per month per client, right? Then you charge the client $500 and you only pocket a small performance fee, right? And you do lower than normal, for example, only 1 to 3%, okay? So your upside is the performance fee, right? So if your performance marketer brings them, let's say, 30K return on ad spend, and you have a 3% return on ad spend guarantee, then in that situation, you pocket $900 plus your base retainer of $500, but the $500 goes to the contractor, right? So in this situation, you're just getting the performance upside. The next one is a partial guarantee model. Okay, so you still keep this at a rolling month by month term. Then you do a partial guarantee. For example, if you don't bring them 20 leads, you'll refund half the service fee to cap their downside, right? Now with that last one, it's similar to the bold guarantee pricing model, right? But remember, that's more for advanced people. If you're just starting, then you can do a rolling month by month deal, and you can do a partial guarantee. So hey, if I don't hit this deliverable, I'm actually going to give you half your money back to cap your downside, right? And bear in mind, once again, I really want to make this clear. You shouldn't have to use paid trials. You know, I'd say for 75% of the people watching this, they're just getting started with their agency. You don't need to use paid trials. You know, between all the sales training, the prospecting training, the overall, hey, here's how you position your offer training, probably won't need to use the paid trials, right? But if you've already had 5 or 6 meetings and it's been months and you just want to just get over the hurdle of getting that first paying client, then you can use one of these paid trial variations I'm showing you today. So as I said, I've really just given you a few different options right here, and you know what situations to use what. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I have to say about paid trials, clearing up some free trial insanity, and really the use case of when to use this. I think this has been an incredibly short module, which I know maybe some of you guys like. Some of you guys may not enjoy the fact that each module is usually 30 to 60 minutes. It was punchy, quick, and I pretty much got everything I want to get across. So let's move on to action step for today. So today's action step is I want you to go through all the modules so far and make sure you've printed every single printout or wallpaper and kept it around your house or pinned it up on a wall. Ladies and gents, over the past few years, I've seen some very, very clear common denominators, right? I've seen some very clear common denominators between the people that do well and the people that don't do well. And the people that do well are the ones that follow the action steps, post in the group, and also, all of these tools and resources, you want to have all of these reminders around you at all time. I've seen people, they literally have in the last program, they have a full wall, just a full wall of all the different pinups and stuff like that. And they look at it while they work, right? Most people where they work, they have like a big wall behind them, right? Or a big wall behind their laptop or their desktop. It's usually filled with all these pinups. They keep pinups around their house, on their bathroom mirror, whatever it may be, right? So print these out, keep these around your house, and let them serve as reminders. By the way, this is also if you're just starting or you're making 10K a month, right? Because these reminders are going to be so important. These principles are going to be so important to you along this journey, along this process. So ladies and gentlemen, as I said, a very short one, not very common for me, but as I said, pretty much got everything I need to get across with this. Hope you guys enjoyed this module, and I'll see you in the next one.